Troy Nehls went scorched earth on Chris Wray. Check it out.
I want to turn my attention now to this fella, this character, Mr. Ray Epps. And Mr. Ray Epps can be seen at the first breach of Capitol grounds at approximately 12:50 p.m. Play the clip, please.
During a House hearing, the congressman grilled the former FBI director over inconsistencies in the January 6 investigation, exposing several gaps that raise serious questions about the official narrative.
I have an article here from CNN in January 2022 calling the January 6th investigation the biggest investigation in FBI history. You don't mention January 6th. Not one time in your 14-page testimony. You don't mention it one time.
That's why today we're covering it all, because we're not here to follow parties blindly. We're here for common sense. So if you're an independent thinker, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
I want to turn my attention now to this fella, this character, Mr. Ray Epps. We've all heard of him. We've heard of Mr. Ray Epps. He was number 16 on your FBI most wanted list. He was encouraging people the night prior and the day of to go into the Capitol. And Mr. Ray Epps can be seen at the first breach of Capitol grounds at approximately 12:50 p.m. Play the clip, please.
We need to go into the Capitol.
Into the Capitol.
Into the Capitol. What? We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Please spread the word. All right, noted. Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
are we going to get arrested if we go up there?
Yeah. You don't need to get shot.
Arrest us.
There he is, breaching the line, going in at the first breach into the Capitol grounds, a restricted area.
Now, for context, this hearing took place in July 2023, just a few months after the January 6 committee released its final report. But as time went on, more people started noticing inconsistencies in how things were conducted. That's why the House Judiciary Committee brought in the head of the FBI to testify. And this hearing was one of the earliest efforts to investigate the politicization and possible weaponization of federal agencies against political opponents. Now, there's a lot to be said about Ray Epps. For instance, his sentence for everything we've seen him to do in these clips was, quote, a year of probation, in addition to being ordered to pay a $25 special assessment and $500 in restitution. But at the time of the hearing, he wasn't even arrested, which is what Troy pointed out, saying this.
Mr. Ray, you have arrested hundreds of people related to January 6th. And there have been people arrested for breaching Capitol grounds. Couey Griffin is an example. Rachel Genko is an example. And then we go to Mr. Brandon Strecka. Brandon was arrested for disorderly and disruptive conduct, which included yelling, I quote, "Go, go, go," as rioters tried to enter the Capitol. These three never went into the Capitol. They never assaulted anyone. So let's be honest with each other. There is very little difference between the actions of Ray Epps and Brandon Strecka that day, but yet Strecka was arrested and Epps wasn't. Epps also testified to the January 6th committee. He was back at his hotel when video evidence showed that he wasn't. He lied. He was on the Capitol grounds just as Brandon Strecka was. Epps even texted his nephew at 2:12 p.m. and said, I quote, "I was in the front with a few others." It was on the video. "I also orchestrated it."
There are a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding Epps, and I think it's safe to say most of it was fueled because of how the government acted back then. For instance, he was suspect number 16 on a list released by the FBI, and there was even a cash reward for information leading to his identification. And despite being quickly identified by users on Twitter, Ray was quietly removed from the list without any public explanation. Naturally, where there's a lack of transparency, an information vacuum is created, and conspiracies start spreading like wildfire. Going back to the hearing, Troy followed up with an interesting question, but Ray gave essentially a non-answer.
Now look into the camera, sir, when you answer my next question. Are you going to arrest Mr. Epps, yes or no?
I'm not going to engage here in a discussion about individual people who are or are not going to be prosecuted.
Can I get a commitment? You just watched the video. I'm an old law dog. I understand a little bit about probable cause. He did very little. There was very little difference what he did and Mr. Strecka. You can see him. He's encouraging, I almost think he's inciting a riot. He's encouraging people the night prior to go into the Capitol, the day of, go into the Capitol, and he was at the first breach, and he breached the restricted area. Everybody, a lot of people getting arrested for not going into the Capitol, but they're in the restricted area, but yet, Ray Epps, who many people feel, fed, right? And there's a lot of clout over this. So my point is this. You arrested a lot of folks for unlawful activity. You just saw the video. And I will tell you, Mr. Ray, if you don't arrest Mr. Epps, there's a reason behind it. I believe you know what it is, and it appears to me you are protecting this guy.
Now, you might be wondering, January 6th is behind us, so why bring it up now? Well, we may never get a clear answer on whether Ray Epps had any connection with the FBI. A new layer of concern emerged from a report released toward the end of last year, which confirmed, quote, 26 confidential human sources, or paid informants, were in Washington on the day of the riot. And of the 26 in total, 4 entered the Capitol, while another 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol. And none of them were charged for trespassing. Let that sink in. Troy then switched gears and asked whether the FBI was reassigning agents from other teams to investigate this case. And to nobody's surprise, he got another non-answer.
I have an article here from CNN in January 2022 calling the January 6th investigation the biggest investigation in FBI history. And what shocks me about this, quite honestly, is that you don't mention January 6th. Again, the biggest investigation, not one time in your 14-page testimony. You don't mention it one time. And that makes me ask myself the question, what the hell are you hiding? Sir, you mentioned 38,000 agents and support personnel in your agency. How many FBI agents and support personnel have you assigned to the January 6th investigation?
I don't know that I know the number. I know we have a lot of people working on it in multiple field
fair
offices.
enough, lots.
Yeah.
Knowing that you are dealing with some of the sickest people in our society with investigations related to child sex trafficking, have you reassigned any of these agents or personnel to investigate January 6th? Yes or no?
I don't believe we have reassigned people away from child exploitation to January 6th.
Just to do a quick fact check. It may be true that they didn't reassign people from that specific team, but there's absolutely were reassignments elsewhere. In fact, NBC ran an article on this exact issue in 2022, detailing how stretched federal resources had become due to the scope of the January 6th investigation. Even the DOJ openly admitted this case was, quote, taking away resources from federal prosecutors across the country who were dealing with a host of other law enforcement challenges. And that's why they were requesting a budget increase. Now, having that in mind, let's see Troy's final takedown.
Let me just say this, Director. I find that answer disturbing because last month, Steve Friend, he testified before the Weaponization Committee. Mr. Friend was a domestic terrorism investigator for you, and he was told by one of his superiors that January 6th was, I quote, a higher priority than pursuing child pornography cases, end quote. And for those of you watching in America, understand today's FBI is more concerned about searching for and arresting Grandma and Grandpa for entering the Capitol building that day than pursuing the sick individuals in our society who prey on our children. And Mr. Ray, your priorities are flawed.
So, the point of this video isn't to rehash the events of that day or debate who was and wasn't involved. That's already been extensively covered from every angle. It's about questioning whether the DOJ and FBI remained focused on justice or whether they allowed bias and political pressure to guide their actions. And if that's the case, it doesn't just affect those directly involved in January 6th. It sets a dangerous precedent for how government power could be used moving forward. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, keep on thinking.